We are live in downtown Fargo today, right next door to the Block 9 project going up. And, man, is it cool to take a look at this thing. So, basically, we see the shell of the building now, and now it's just to fill it in with all the pretty stuff on the inside.
Ooh, I can't wait.
It's going to be, I think from the outside, it probably isn't going to look much different for a little while now. But then maybe when spring comes around, it'll start to fill in outside. Yeah. But, yeah, the shell of the building is there, and now the good stuff goes on. It would not have happened without people like our next guest, Justin Beauchane. He's a crane operator for McGough Construction. Been kind enough to show up a little early here today and visit with us on the Need to Know Morning Show. Hey, Justin, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it very much. So what is a typical work day for you? Are you normally an 8 to 5 guy, or what's your typical schedule?
Usually up at about 4:30.
Okay.
If we have to start at 5:30, then we climb, get here to work and climb at 5:30 to be pick ready by 6 o'clock for the crews.
Okay. So early days are sort of par for the course
yes.
for you then. Okay.
And then usually sleeping by 8:30 at night.
That makes sense.
He's got my hours.
I would guess that you don't want to be too sleepy if you're working a crane. I'm thinking you got to have your have your sleep. Yeah, that's right. Justin, tell us a little bit about how you got into this line of work. I think what you do is really cool, and I think it'd be really fun to do your job for a day. You've probably been doing it so long it's no big deal now, but how did you decide, like, hey, being a crane operator might be what I want to do for a living?
So my dad was actually a supervisor for a construction company, and I remember being on job sites at an early age. And I think when I was about 14 or 15, I saw, when we were on a construction site, and a crane operator was lifting, somewhat like we're doing here, concrete pieces onto a rooftop of a building. And he says, if you want to do that, you better stay in school. And so that kind of triggered, yes, I want to be in construction, but I lean more towards heavy equipment.
How have the mechanics of heavy equipment changed over the years? I mean, I'm sure you've seen major changes going on.
Yes, you've gone from, even in vehicles, the change from I guess.
Well, all the comforts, heated seats and electric windows.
Yes,
I mean,
and so, now you have switches where if you don't have your hands on the controls, the crane doesn't operate. Stuff like that, where you didn't have that in the past. It was just long levers and stuff was sloppy. Now things are a lot tighter and they're easier
more
to
accurate.
operate. Yep. Smoother.
What's it like to, and I'm going to have you sneak your microphone up, just to elevate it up just a little bit there, just so we can hear you a little bit better.
Is that better?
Actually, we're going to lift it up this way just a little bit. Perfect. Thank you. What's it like to work up where you do every day? You talked about you got to do your climbing in the morning. Well, tell us a little bit about how you get ready to go to work each day.
Basically, you make sure you've gone to the bathroom before you go on. Not too much coffee.
Yeah.
Days like today where we've had rain through the night and then it froze, I climb pretty careful.
You probably don't need a gym membership either, do you?
Actually, I do. Because once you get up there, then you sit all day.
Yeah. But you got to get up there.
You feel your core disappearing.
So what are you climbing up to get there?
Just ladder rungs.
Okay.
Yep. So you climb, depending on the tower section that's put together. Some of the runs are 40 feet long, some are 20, some are 13. So you might climb 40. You have a transition, and then climb another 40. And then as you get to the top,
So do you have some kind of harness or something then too?
Just when I'm in on the upper structure.
Okay. So when we see most cranes, they're sitting kind of basically on the ground, and then so getting in there as you go up 3 steps and you're there. But your deal, your cab is way up in the air then, yes?
Yes. So I operate those type of cranes too on the ground, and so you go from being on the ground looking up to going up looking down. And so that transition is a lot more challenging than say the crane. It's the operation of the crane itself. It's the depth perception and what you're looking at.
Kevin, you had a question for Justin.
Yeah, Justin, back here at the studio, you kind of answered the first question I had for you, if you work crawlers as well as the tower cranes.
Yes.
How do you guys, I know that you don't change the counterweights on a tower crane every day, so how do you determine load and length of your grab? Because I've actually got to go up in a tower crane once way back, and that was a big deal about how much you could lift and how far out that lift pulley can go. How do you determine that? Or is everything pre-weighed?
That's set up by the people we rent the crane from. So on my particular crane, at about 85 feet back towards the cab, I'm good for about 26,000 pounds, and then it starts to decrease only out to like 19,000 towards the end of the jib. So I only lose about 7,000 pounds from 85 feet to 115 feet.
Okay, cool.
And so all that stuff is done pre-job.
Yeah.
What kind of training do you have to operate these things, and testing and all that kind of stuff?
Well, 20 years ago, you went through probably a 40-hour course on the rules and laws, and then a lot of it was just hands-on, like a driving course. You have to pass the written, and then, of course, pass the driving with an instructor and a timed course, and make sure you're not too erratic in your operating. Yeah. And then from there, it's you got to do a lot of seat time. Mm-hmm. You can read the rules and get that down pat, but if you don't have the seat time and what wind does to you, what you're picking, depending on the weight of it, how the wind affects that, whether it's a form for a bridge job that's 30 feet long and 15 feet tall, it's going to catch a lot more wind than something that's maybe 4 feet wide and 20 feet tall.
Yeah.
So
you live locally, you live in Walcott, so you know this area well. What does it mean to you personally to be part of something like this project?
Oh, it's great. I hope there's a lot more projects in the future, because it's nice to be able to go home every night and see the wife and kids.
Yeah.
So I traveled for many years, and this project has enabled me to stay home local.
Yeah.
This last year.
You've got an interesting perspective on this project because you're working on it. What do you think the average resident probably doesn't know about what's happening out there right now that you think people should be aware of?
Well, there's a lot of planning that goes into it, and then when the weather hits in this area, whether it's freezing or then all of our plans kind of go out the window. So you have to be able to adjust on the fly and still get the project.
Were you slowed down quite a bit this summer then with all the rain we've had?
Yeah, rain, and before that it was the snowstorms and the freezing
and we're all doing it again.
And the wind, and the wind gets so high we have to shut down for safety. So.
Mm-hmm. What makes a good crane operator? Like someone who's a rookie on the job versus a guy like you with 20 years of experience. What makes the pros in the business? What separates them from the rest of everybody?
I think you have to have a willingness to learn something new every day, and not get stuck in I know everything.
Yeah.
Already. Like I worked a year on this project, I know everything about crane operating. I think every crane I've ever been in, or every day, I learned something new on the project, on the crane. I guess just to keep an open mind and keep learning, because there's always yes, I'm operating a crane here, but it's also giving me experience to operate one somewhere in the future, and I don't know where that is.
There you go. Yeah,
but. Don't want to miss out on that either.
So we're just about out of time, but I got to ask you this. What's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you being up in a crane? Did you see like a tornado funnel cloud out in the distance? You're like, get me the heck out of here.
The lightning can get pretty close to you. And when you see that, you want to get everyone else out of the way, but sometimes you have to stick it out and stay up there, so it gets pretty close.
Oh my. And then you got to climb down, I suppose.
Sometimes we just let the storm pass and we go back to work.
Yeah,
so
that
there's
makes
no
sense.
climbing down.
Well, Justin, this has been fun having you here. It's been great to hear what you do. Congrats on what you've done so far. It's amazing to those of us who don't do it every day and what you do specifically. So thanks for coming by and giving us a few minutes this morning.
Thanks for having me.